Story 1, The Unlocked Door, submitted by Stalked Stacy. So this happened to me a few years ago when I was a freshman in college. Honestly, I still get chills thinking about it, but I guess I need to get this off my chest. Please bear with me. I was staying in the oldest dormitory on campus. People always said it was creepy, but I never paid attention to that sort of thing. It was just an old building, and the creaks and groans were just, well, part of its charm. Now I had this routine every night. I would lock my door, double check it, and then hop into bed. I was sort of obsessive about it. But one night, something happened that broke that routine and left me terrified. It was a stormy night, which I know sounds like a cliche, but it's true. The wind was howling, and I could hear the rain pounding against the windows. I had locked my doors, checked it twice, and just about to drift off to sleep when I heard a noise. It was a faint click. I bolted up and strained my ears to hear, but everything was silent except for the storm. I convinced myself it was just the building settling or something, and settled back down. A few minutes later, I heard it again. This time, it was unmistakable. It was the sound of the door unlocking. Heart started pounding in my chest. I was paralyzed with fear, but managed to turn my head to look at the door. And to my horror, the door was slightly ajar. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. I knew I had locked that door. I had checked it twice, but there it was, slightly open, and the hallway light was seeping in. I grabbed my phone and texted my friend who lived down the hall, trying to keep my hands steady. My door just unlocked by itself. Can you come over? While waiting for her to respond, I stared at the door, almost expecting something to come through. Then I heard it again. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming down the hall. My friend texted back, "On my way," but I couldn't shake the terror that was gripping me. The footsteps got closer, and I could see the shadow under the door. I was holding my breath, praying it would just go away, and then it stopped. Right outside my door, I could hear breathing, slow and heavy. I was frozen in terror, my mind racing with all the possible scenarios. Was it a stalker, a murderer, or just a drunk student who got lost? The breathing continued for what felt like an eternity, and then the shadow moved away, and the footsteps receded. My friend arrived a few minutes later, and we checked the hallway. There was no one there, no signs of anything amiss. We never figured out what it was, or who it had been. Story 2, The Missing Roommate, submitted by Tormented Jerry 39. Hey there. What I'm about to share with you happened during my final year of college. It's something that still haunts me to this day, and honestly, it's just something I've never been able to explain. So, I was sharing a dorm room with my roommate, Tom. Tom was a pretty private guy, kept to himself mostly, but we got along well enough. As graduation was approaching, I was buried in my studies, and we didn't get to interact much beyond the occasional hello or good night. One day, a couple of weeks before finals, Tom tells me that he's going on a trip with his friends for the weekend and that he'd be back on Sunday night. I wished him well, and off he went. Now, the dorm we were staying in had a history of strange occurrences. People would report odd noises, things going missing, but I had always dismissed those stories as just typical college myths. However, that weekend I would find myself wishing I had paid more attention. That Sunday night, I was pulling an all-nighter, deeply engrossed in my textbooks. Around midnight, I could hear the front door open and close, followed by familiar footsteps down the hall. I figured Tom was back, so I called out a greeting, but got no response. I shrugged it off and went back to my books. few minutes later, I heard the shower running. Tom must be washing off the weekend, I thought. An hour or so later, I realized the shower was still on. This was odd because Tom never took long showers. I knocked on the bathroom door and called out his name, but got no response. Now I was starting to get worried. I decided to check on him, so I opened the bathroom door expecting to find him there. But to my shock, there was no one in the shower, though the water was still running. The room was filled with steam and his clothes were laying on the floor. But Tom was nowhere to be found. I panicked. I searched the entire dorm, looked under beds and closets, everywhere I could think of, but there was no sign of Tom. I called his friends, but they said they hadn't seen him since they dropped him off at the dorm earlier. I even called campus security, and they did a thorough search, but found nothing. Days turned into weeks, and there was still no sign of Tom. The police got involved. They investigated every possible angle, but nothing came of it. Tom had just vanished. I graduated without ever finding out what happened to him, and his disappearance became another one of those college myths. But here's the part that truly terrifies me. Every now and then when I'd be in the dorm room alone, I would hear the shower running late at night, just like it did that Sunday. But when I'd check, there would be no one there, just steam and the emptiness that would chill me to the core. I don't know what happened to Tom, and maybe I never will, but I know what I heard, and I know what I saw. And every time I hear a shower running when I'm alone, I'm taken back to that night, and I can't help but wonder if Tom is somehow still there, forever trapped in that moment. That dorm has since been torn down, and a new building stands in its place. But Tom's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery, a haunting memory that I carry with me, always reminding me that some things are better left unexplored. If you ever find yourself in a place with a history of strange occurrences, please take them seriously. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows, waiting to make you a part of the legend. I moved out of that dormitorium the next semester. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, and that door, well, it never felt secure again. To this day, I don't know what happened that night. Was it just my imagination playing tricks on me? I'll never know for sure. But one thing's certain. I've always locked my locks, not twice, but 3 times now, and I never, ever sleep with the door unlocked. Story 3. The Dormitory Laughter. Submitted by Escaped P. Ray. It was my first semester at college, and like any other freshman, I was excited but nervous about dorm life. My roommate had gone home for the weekend, leaving me alone in the small, dimly lit room. The campus was quiet, and the only sounds were the distant hum of the vending machines and the occasional footsteps echoing down the hall. As I sat at my desk, trying to finish my last-minute assignment, I heard faint laughter coming from somewhere outside my room. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it might be some students having a late-night gathering. As the laughter grew louder and more unsettling, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. My heart began to race, and I found it difficult to concentrate on my work. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, but the laughter persisted. It sounded eerie, almost as if it was forced, not the laughter of genuine happiness. I decided to investigate, grabbing my phone for some semblance of comfort. I cautiously stepped out of my room. The creaking floor added to that eerie atmosphere. The laughter seemed to be coming from the end of the hallway, near the common room. As I got closer, the laughter grew louder, and I noticed that it was not coming from a group of people, but from a single person. My heart was pounding in my chest as I hesitated, unsure if I should continue. But my curiosity got the better of me, and I peered around the corner into the common room. What I saw froze me in my tracks. There, sitting on one of the couches, was a figure in the darkness. I couldn't see their face clearly, but I could make out a chilling smile. The laughter was coming from them, and it was unsettlingly high-pitched, almost robotic. "Hello?" I stammered, trying to sound brave despite the fear that gripped me. The figure turned its head towards me, and even in the dim light, I could see their smile widen. It was as if they were enjoying my fear, feeding off of it. "Who are you? What do you want?" I managed to ask, my voice trembling. The laughter continued, and the figure slowly stood up, taking slow, deliberate steps towards me. I couldn't see the face clearly, and it sent shivers down my spine. Without warning, the figure lunged at me, and I let out a scream. I turned and ran back to my room, locking the door behind me. My hands were shaking as I tried to call campus security on my phone, but there was no signal. I sat on my bed, holding my breath, hoping that whoever or whatever that was would go away. Minutes felt like hours as I waited in silence. Finally, the laughter stopped. I stayed in my room, too scared to leave until morning. When the sun finally rose, I ventured out cautiously. The common room was empty, and there was no sign of mysterious figure from the night before. I reported the incident to campus security, but they couldn't find any evidence of anyone else being in the dormitorium that night. They said it was probably just a prank by someone trying to scare the freshmen. But I knew what I saw and heard was real. The unsettling laughter, the eerie smile haunted my nightmares for weeks to come. I never felt safe in that dormitorium again, and I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me, even in broad daylight. To this day, I still wonder who or what that figure was and why they targeted me. And the scariest part of it all, I never found out, and I never want to. So if you ever find yourself alone in a dark, quiet dormitory, be cautious. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows, waiting to make you the unwilling recipient of a twisted laughter and a chilling smile.